Hey guys, how's it going? Back with you, bored now, back with you for another television review. And sorry, this one is a bit later than I'd hoped for, but this is going to be my review of the first episode of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 3. And it's up to you what you make of this whole Part 3 deal, whether you think this is season 3 or whether you think it's season 2, but obviously the first season was just split up into two parts. I tend to think that. I think this is the start of season 2. I'm confusing myself now. I think this is season 2 and that they're basically breaking like these long seasons up into chunks, but it's sort of interesting because obviously we now live in an age where TV is seen as kind of like chapters and segmented, but a bit like chapters from a book. So this kind of works quite nicely, and I think it's probably a way for them to break things down a bit more for the viewer and give them a breather before they go into the next part of the story. But whatever, it's part 3, that's what they're calling it. It's their thing. And this is obviously the reboot of the 90s sitcom Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Very, very different. And just to give my thoughts on the first season quickly, or parts 1 and 2 if you like, I had a good time with them. It took me a while to get into it. I wasn't so keen on the teen like drama and romance, the love triangle. I think that stuff is definitely the weakest, but you know, the cast are mostly good. I think obviously the lead is very natural. Some good like pantomime-ish sort of like cameos and supporting roles. And boy, do I have a crush on well, as she is now Madam Satan, but on Gomez's character, Michelle Gomez's character. So yeah, she really does it for me, folks. But no, it's enjoyable. It's a lighter watch, but also it does have its darker moments. Quite a good style to it. Obviously has quite a lot of similarities to Buffy, but yeah, without setting the world on fire, it's a very enjoyable, sort of relaxing type watch. So I was looking forward to this new season. And so we left off with the big revelation that basically Sabrina's boyfriend Nick, it's debatable whether he sacrificed himself or if he kind of did it for his own reasons, but whatever, he decided then he had to go along with like Satan's ruling, so he basically sacrificed himself and ended up getting taken to hell or a hell dimension, and now as a result he has Sabrina's dad, who's Lucifer, because of course that's who her dad is, sort of embedded inside his head, so he's kind of trapped. And the other big thing is that we've now got we've got Lilith, slash Madam Satan, who's now the ruler of the universe, the ruler of hell. So the human form version of that character has gone back to being just a lonely little, like, good down-to-earth teacher, but meanwhile this other side of her has taken over in hell. She is now Madam Satan. So that's the situation at the start of this new run, and Sabrina has to try and go get into hell to try and rescue Nick. And so they sell that quite well at the start, and they sort of set up this sort of change of the status quo. So we see then Zelda now is decided and she's going to take over like the School of Black Arts, the academy, and they've got all the old students staying in their household. So with Blackwood missing, Zelda basically decides to take over and train the kids, and she's been her normal sort of icy, stern self, which is fantastic to see. And one of the highlights of this first episode is that we see Hilda like taking on the form of Blackwood just as a trick to try and cover the fact that he's actually gone missing, and also they're trying to dig for information. But it's a really funny scene, actually. Some great stuff in that scene. Actually, I forgot to mention the episode is called the Hellbound Heart, which I like a lot because obviously it's a Hellraiser reference, and I think most episodes tend to have like a movie like reference in the title. But yeah, I do dig that a lot. So yeah, Zelda's looking to take over the academy and run things a little differently, let's say. There's my least favourite subplot is with Ambrose and Prudence. So they've gone off looking for Blackwood so that they can finally kill him once and for all. So we get this scene in New Orleans, and they think they've hunted down Blackwood, but it's just like a spiritual representation of him. Prudence stabs him, and then they go looking for black magic to try and like locate him, which part of the globe he is. And you get like this Jamaican sort of stereotype, and it's not a big deal, but it's sort of funny the fact that I think they go out of their way for her to say this is no voodoo like business sort of thing. So it's almost like commenting on the fact that yeah, you expect a stereotype and this isn't a stereotype, even though kind of it is the way she's acting and talking. But what the hell, it just wasn't very entertaining. And every moment Ambrose is on screen, it's kind of annoying. He's easily the worst character in this show, and that includes Harvey or Nick. But the actor's not great, and yeah, he's never really appealed to me, Ambrose. It just feels like a needless subplot. I think it's one of these shows where the cast now is so big, then they just need to find something to connect every cast member, every character, and try and like give them something to do. And this was pretty weak source, but they end up tracking down Blackwood at the end of the episode. And notably, he's in Scotland and particularly Loch Ness, so there's quite a bit of like history in that location, so no real surprise. So to get into the meat of the episode, we see that Sabrina is trying to contact or trying a different spell every day. She's gone to the gates of hell, tries a different spell, and yeah, it doesn't work. But then she gets a bit of information. She goes to I'm gonna have to remind you of this. Dorian Gray, that's it. Sorry, folks. Dorian Gray, who exists in this world, who knows? But what the heck? And the actor's sort of alright, but it seems a bit odd. We've got Dorian Gray in this one. And he makes a deal with Sabrina. So Sabrina wants his help. She has this idea of like getting into hell through painting. So she asks Dorian Gray, do you have any paintings? And he says he will help her, but only if she brings back like a magical flower for him. So she agrees, and she loads up with the gang. So it's almost like a Scooby type road trip to hell, which I kind of like. So Harvey, Theo, and Roz. And I have to say, her friends are trying to take her mind off Nick. So Harvey has put together this band, and it's super cheesy. You see them performing, so they're doing the the Bye Bye Sharona song. Of course, it fits the mood for the show. but Harvey really can't sing. But actually, when it cuts to Ross doing vocals, she's pretty damn good actually. But it's a fun little scene anyway. And then Sabrina walks in and says, "Yeah, let's get this thing going. Let's hit the road to hell, folks." Basically, so it becomes this really like full-on entertaining like Wizard of Oz type thing when they go to hell. They go on this massive like long road trip. It all looks very gothic. It looks very sort of Tim Burton. Again, the production values on the show are really good actually. It sort of falls into the really cheesy but kind of gothic and kind of cool sort of category. And it's also interesting that Wardwood has no memory of what happened to her, so now she's just a lonely teacher. But you wonder how long that's going to stay the case. So they're on this road trip to hell, and one of the things they discover is that Theo's uncle has been captured. So and this is quite a graphic scene actually. He's like strung up on the tree. He's all bloodied, and Theo obviously wants to save him, but they've been told by this guy who's like this bit of beefcake basically. Really bland actor, but he just looks like one of these pretty beefcake type boys with not a lot on. But they're told you must follow the road of blood. He lays out this road of blood, and that will get you to where you want to be. And so Sabrina convinces Theo, we can't divert from the road. We have to stay on the path. But she reassures Theo, then this is the way to get to this place. That's the way we're going to save your granddad. So that's that. So they continue along, and there's various hurdles. There's this whole thing with Harvey and the others in the wood where Harvey gets into like a sword fight with this sort of gothic creature, and Theo and Sabrina are put in harm's way by this flower, the poisonous flower, which they have to bring back for Dorian Gray. So Sabrina has to handle that with care, and yeah. Crazy Tim Man is the guy who goes after Harvey. That's how he responds to him. But it's one of these like fun episodes really that just works because you've got all these crazy characters popping up. You've got a nice little like straightforward narrative where they're on this mission, they're in the gang, and there's just like these like obstacles thrown up. So it sort of does away with a lot of the cheesy like melodrama type thing. So it's a really enjoyable silly episode which I had a lot of fun with. And also Harvey notices someone appears to him who is Tommy, or appears to be Tommy, which is of course Harvey's dead brother. But Sabrina reassures him, that's not your brother, it's a trick. They're trying to throw us off the path. And Sabrina shoots him with a bow and arrow, which is just, badass, Sabrina, go. So that's a really fun moment. And again, Sabrina really using her head, really being smart. So one of the like just most batshit insane scenes in the episode is the gang get caught up in like this gothic sort of classroom, and it's their principal with all this like funny little makeup on, and it's like the hell version of him. But then her name's Ross's grandmother appears out of nowhere looking like this sort of like this just like crazy creepy version of like she looks like Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, I thought I recognised the actress, but when I looked at the credits, I couldn't really recognise the name. But it looked like someone I'd seen in other stuff. But she is just so hair-raising and just OTT. But she has this presence. The way she delivers the line is a Brit. So they're just trapped inside this classroom, and it's a really fun sort of scene. We also get, as a sidebar, we get Zelda trying to contact Blackwood, but he's trying to do it through Madam Satan. So he's trying to. Sorry, Zelda's trying to find out the whereabouts of Woodwood, but or Blackwood. So it's confusing. Woodwood, Blackwood, but Satan's having none of it because, of course. And we see Nick is trapped inside a hell dimension, and the line of the episode is, of course, "Cat got you. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue." Oh no, there it is, which is just brilliant. So she's literally taken off Nick's tongue. So very macabre, but yeah, Madam Satan looking hot, folks, just ripping it up, just looking fantastic. She looks like the bee's knees. But finally, Sabrina and gang, they make it to the place, to the throne, and they demand that they want Nick back, and they want Theo's granddad back, but so Madam Satan tries to make a deal with Sabrina. Yes, another deal. And the deal is that if Sabrina, who theoretically has more power than Madam Satan, persuades like the council and the subject to allow her to rule, if she basically announces her as now the Queen of Hell, or whichever term you want to go with, Sabrina can have her friends back. But there's a complication because they don't want to accept it. There's this kind of hint that it's all a bit sexist and you know, these archaic sort of like feelings and customs, so they don't accept it, and instead the guy from earlier in the episode, Mr. Beefcake, who set them on the path of blood, he comes along and he says, well, actually I'm going to be ruler of this universe. But they find a little loophole, and the loophole is then Sabrina is now queen of this fortress. She's the queen of hell, basically. Our protagonist, the good guy Sabrina. So she's the queen of hell, and it's sort of acceptable if because they don't accept that, but it's acceptable if she has Madam Satan as her subject. So they find a little loophole, which is quite sort of nice. It's a bit like they're making up the plot as they go along, but what the hell? It's all good fun, folks. So that's kind of the deal. Sabrina is transported to hell to face Lucifer, her father, of course. And that's, yeah, he's the one who tells her the only way is for Sabrina to be crowned the queen, and that's when Lilith basically becomes her subject, but the assistant. But there's more opposition, but that's kind of where we sort of end it. And eventually they return with Nick, but Nick still has Lucifer in his head. He's still in a really bad way. So what they do is they put Nick in a dungeon while he regroups and while they figure out a plan. So Nick basically doesn't do a whole lot in this episode. And how it ends is with the trio, the trio, is that? No, there's four of them with Sabrina and friends in the diner once again, and they think, oh, okay, that's it for this episode. But then suddenly an evil wind comes rushing through. It's one of these tongue-in-cheek type moments. Speaking of tongue, and they're like, well, what's that? But they think it's just the wind. But lo and behold, we see some evil carriages. And I think because of the wind and because of the voices we hear inside, and because it's the end of the episode, we know this is someone evil coming into town. And that's the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. And I like the little Greendale sign as well. So exciting stuff, very, very trashy, some great effects, some great characters once again. And it's a very enjoyable watch, partly guilty pleasure, but I enjoy it a lot. So that is the first episode back for Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 3, Season 2, or Season 3, whichever you want to say, whatever. It's all good fun. An enjoyable start, and I'll be back with another episode review soon. I'm going to watch the next one later today, so I'll be back with that soon. Thanks for watching, guys, and good